All right. Let's see. Lane said something in the chat.
Welcome back, everyone.
I said that in response to Kylie's comment about how prison systems could be high heat. I think they could, but they'd be better as medium heat.
Okay. So we can debrief a little bit because there were some people from video in here and some people that weren't. So we can kind of debrief what happened in here. And then we can either, just depending on how long that takes, we can go back into breakout rooms to do a little bit more work. And then we're going to do like vulnerability circle like we used to do, but we're going to do it in breakout rooms. So some people can share what went on.
Okay. If you were in here, if you were part of the video group and you were in the simulation room, Derek, Miller, Lane, and I ran a simulation. It was our medium heat simulation. We ran it over a SCOTUS case, which deals with a group in Oregon using LSD for religious purposes, and whether we thought that was right or wrong. We played it out. The simulation went well, I think. We learned a lot. Graham and Kylie and a few others in here watched it as well from your video group. They seem to like it well enough. So that's good. And I don't know, we thought it went really well. We took a lot of notes over it. So, oh yeah, sorry, SCOTUS is Supreme Court. I should explain my acronyms. Thank you, Lane. But it seemed to go well. It was a medium heat and we wrote notes and things that didn't go well. And we just talked about how we could incorporate videos into what we've got going on.
I can fill in for the video committee whenever Graham and all of them left the car. So I'm making sure that, yeah. Okay. Anyway, we talked about like the format. So we said that we want it to be more of like a narrative where we like have a person ask a question and then just interviewing and like how they answer the question instead of just like a question, a person answer, a question, a person answer, so that it flows nicely. And then we also talked about where we would film, and we asked Wes where he thinks would be a good idea. So our ideas right now are somewhere outside, somewhere in the school, or I can't remember the other one. I think that's it. Somebody else.
We also thought of maybe doing a studio, but we want to talk to Wes about the best ones. And it really depends on who we're interviewing, like what they're comfortable doing, because some people may not even want to do like an interview like face to face. So it depends on the interviewer. Interviewee, sorry, you know what I meant.
I think in terms of our, like, I guess, purpose statement for this meeting, I feel really good about, like, what we got done and making sure that, like, we're progressing together. And I think, like, got a lot of clarity, had a lot of realizations, and hopefully, like, we're really on the same page now. Or, you know, have a better understanding now. So, awesome job, you guys. I feel good.
I was gonna say, I agree. I think unity, like, I really, really enjoyed Graham and Max and Parrish and Kylie and Peyton and all those people watching our simulation, and then they gave us like honest feedback about it, and it was good for a lot. Like a lot of it was good. That just made me feel so much better about our project and where we're going.
Abigail, or Abby, messaged, could we on Sunday or whenever witness the next simulation y'all try out? And yeah, that'd be totally awesome. I think it's worth, now that we've done all of them once, we have a lot of good notes. I think we can choose which one to run again. So, and I think high heat's probably the most interesting, which we need to run again anyways. So yeah, that's what Lane said. So in terms of video, I think obviously we heard a little bit about what y'all did in your breakout room. Do you feel like you got what accomplished today that like you had hoped, or like, you know, on your to-do list? Anything you didn't that you want to work on more?
I think really the
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Maya.
I was just gonna say for videos, right now we're really just kind of with each meeting, talking about some details and then reaching out to our people. So it's kind of just like waiting on responses and like we talked a lot about finding a good spot to hold the interviews, but it's a lot of like waiting to hear back from answers and then catching everyone up. But
That was what I was gonna say. It's pretty much just the actual process that we have to get to now.
Thank you all for sharing. Do you guys want some more work time? Or, I mean, I feel like that's just worth surveying you. I don't want to send everyone to breakout rooms if they don't really want to, if they don't have anything else planned for today. But we can also spend more time in the vulnerability circles too.
Hey, Edie,
Yes.
just say, like, we do not have to do this by any means, but does video committee want, we could run a high heat scenario. Like, we have enough time to run like a 10-minute high heat scenario and then do vulnerability circle if they wanted to see that. Obviously, we'd have to pick out a topic and people to do it. I'm fine to do it, by the way, if that's what we want. But that I'm also down to spend a lot more time in vulnerability circles and like be in community with y'all.
I mean, if y'all are down to do a high heat, I mean, I'm down for that. I find it entertaining too.
I kind of want to
yeah.
I wasn't able to see the reenactment. The previous simulation, I wasn't there to see it, so I kind of want to, but.
Okay. Lane, oh, okay. I was just gonna ask. He asked, does anyone want to take my place as an SP or should I be it again? It doesn't matter to me. I love arguing. We can pick a different, like, really controversial topic, so y'all don't have to do abortion again unless you want to.
Yeah, I'm down either way. And if somebody in the sim group wants to be the participant, like, feel more than welcome.
Seriously.
Be the participant. I don't want to take over from anybody who wants to try it out.
I think you guys got it.
Yeah. All right, Julian
Let's
and
go,
Lane.
Julian. We got this.
What are we doing? What topic are we doing? I don't care. But it's supposed to be a controversial one. Actually, video group, do you have any topics that you want?
If not, I have an idea, but I want to hear if video has any like super controversial topic. It really doesn't matter. Like, just know that this is just a test. Okay. So like what they're saying might not align with their actual views.
Yeah.
I saw in the chat, I think it was Lane that was saying the homelessness and food deserts one. He thought that would be like maybe a high heat. Are we wanting to practice one of our like topics right now, or just kind of pick a random one.
We
I mean-
can totally do that.
But yeah.
Like both of those are based off of welfare and like the degree of welfare in like a local community. And that I definitely see that as being very controversial because it's a break between a party.
Or we can just do an old topic. It's literally up to y'all.
Yeah, like if y'all make me argue pro-life again, I wouldn't mind.
Just do that one. You've already done it. Everybody's sort of curious,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Okay. And then
Also, everyone turn off their videos. It helps with like
yeah.
lag.
It helps me not cut out. Thank you.
Yeah.
How long are we gonna do this, Julian? Do you want to do 5-minute limit? Do you want to do
Yeah, we can
7-minute
do a
limit?
shorter one. We can do like a 5-minute.
Shorter.
You just get to
5-minute. Edie, can you keep time for 5 minutes?
Yes.
All right. So highlight the goal of Julian right now, since she is a participant, is to recognize that the scenario will have gone too far, that there is nothing she can do to settle this conversation, and that the only thing left is to walk away. Now, our topic for this run will be abortion again. Julian, I'd like to know what you think about abortion. What are your views on it? What do you personally hold dear?
Well, I've always felt that I've been pro-choice. I think, in my opinion, that it's always best to let the woman in this situation decide. It's going to be a hard decision either way. And so I think that we should respect her opinion most. And if she's going to know her life the best, so if she believes an abortion is what that she needs, then that is great. And if she doesn't want one, no.
Sorry. Yeah, sure. That is a fair point. But what do you think about the unborn fetus who is still within the female? Like, is that not a human person who has rights as well? Like, do you not think that they deserve life too?
I mean, it depends on specifically where you believe life begins. Some people believe life begins at conception. Personally, I would argue that life doesn't begin there. I would say that's your own personal values, but once again, I think in the end, it's going to go up to the woman and her doctor and what's best for her life. So
Now, see, I'm a big microbiology person. A cell is a living thing, and when two gametes come together to form that zygote, it is alive. It will continue to divide, and it contains the spirit of a human person. Whatever that spirit is, whatever it may be, it still has it, and you're killing it off. So, like, I really don't know how you justify that at all.
you're right, it's a cell and it will continue to develop. But really for me is that it's not a living being. If it wasn't
It is
inside-
a living being. It literally is. It's dividing.
If it
Like,
wasn't-
it has life. The cell is living.
But if it wasn't inside of the mother, it wouldn't continue to live. If you took that exact same cell and somehow extracted
Exactly. And that's what you're doing with abortion. You're taking the cell out, or you're giving them drugs to exactly kill it. You're murdering it. Why would you condone this? Why would you do this? Why would you let this happen? Why would you let that happen to another human person?
based on federal law, it's actually not murder, specifically within the first trimester, because after Roe v. Wade was decided, it was allowed that all abortions are legal within the first trimester. And when you get into more like
Roe v. Wade has decided that is federal law. You were right about that. However, it should not be. There is human life within every single cell that is just growing inside the woman's body. And it is a natural responsibility. Mother, I'm busy. Yes, it is a natural responsibility of any carrier to go through with that.
This is true, but in certain cases, women don't always mean to be pregnant.
How? Why? Like, I understand the rape and stuff, and like, but any other scenario, there should not be. I mean, even with rape, like, I don't understand how, like, the woman can like kill off her own child, because while it may not have been her choice, it's still her own, and it's still hers. And shouldn't there be like a motherly instinct? Like, I don't understand what you're saying. I don't know why you'd argue this. Like, I just don't understand why you do this. Like,
I think that we're going to continue to disagree. I think that in instances of rape, obviously that's a terrible situation that has happened, and it can be even more traumatic for the
It
mother
will
to
be
keep
traumatic,
child,
yes.
and it can be even more traumatic for the child to know that they came from that.
Traumatic.
Lane, you cut off. But I was going to continue to say that I think it's unfair to rule a general rule over all of these people, and you becoming aggressive and directing that negativity at me isn't going to change my opinions in any way.
You
if
couldn't
you
be more wrong. You could not be more wrong.
If you would like to continue to debate and speak about facts and things of that,
Facts. I'll speak up. I'll defend the life of my compatriots. How about that?
and that's your opinion to believe that they're alive, but once again,
Believe that they're alive. That is amusing.
I don't
That is hilarious. You not believe that they're alive?
I don't think we're ever going to agree. So I'm finished with this debate. But I'm glad that you have your own opinions and we can continue to disagree.
Yeah. That was like almost 5 minutes. So also this is just like a point for like when we're training the SP, that like if we had like really prepared for this, because this was kind of spur of the moment, but like another aspect of the SP is like say things that like aren't even true, like they're not fact, which can frustrate the participant even more. So that was just another point that I don't really think we practiced in that one, but it was a point that we made. So yeah.
But for the people who watched, what were your thoughts? Any comments? It was kind of a spur of the moment thing, so, but we'd still like to hear honest commentary.
I think it was really good. Obviously, the scenario is kind of designed to make someone mad. And so obviously Julian doesn't get mad, which, is different. But it was good.
Did it feel real for those participating? Julian and Lane, did you guys feel it was real, or did it feel real enough?
I mean, we've run this scenario a couple times, specifically me and Lane, on this same issue, but I think like the goal of that was to just show the video simulation like what our high heat is about, because they had asked some questions about it when we all came back together, and we had a little bit of time before we needed to get into vulnerability circles. So I think that was just kind of like a bare bones run of what the high heat is and what you can expect to see from it, rather than like it being like a real run of the scenario.
So are you trying to get impressions then from the people working on video stuff?
Yes.
I think so, but I can answer your question too. I didn't feel like it was real, and here's why. Since I'm the SP, I have to argue against whatever Julian says. It doesn't matter what she says. I have to argue against it, whether or not it's my view or not. I am actually pro-choice. Like I support women doing whatever they want with their bodies. I will never be pregnant, so it's not my problem. But yeah, I had to argue for life, pro-life, and it's really fun to argue to play devil's advocate, and I really enjoy doing it, even though it's not my viewpoint. It doesn't feel real, but I try and make it feel real.
Right. And we also have to remember like the SPs are like trained actors. So, let's say that like for our high heat, we have like 3 designated topics. And so like the participant will choose one of the 3. So like the SP will be equipped to argue both sides of all 3 topics. So like, we're just high school students. Like I think Lane knows enough about both sides that he was okay arguing both sides, but like, he's not a trained actor, so like he did a great job for just being a high school student, but like hopefully in that setting it will feel super real.
Also, I would like to add, like, I think the point of that is what we call a theatrical style, like, simulation. So there's one person going against, if you want to use that word, the SP, and the others are supposed to be watching and learning from it as well, seeing, like, me as a participant, what did I do well, what did I not do well on. No matter my opinions, they're not critiquing my opinions, they're more so critiquing how I reacted to the situation and how I could have reacted better. Or if I did react well in a certain way, they could say, like, oh, I liked how she was calm at the end, or I liked how she got her point across, whatever it is.
Did you guys feel that that was skill building?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot more sense. They were just talking in the chat that the participant won't know how the SP will react. So I think that kind of put things into place for me. It definitely makes sense. And I think it is a good exercise. I really like it.
I have a kind of tangentially related question, sort of. I mean, it's not really, it's related. Like, if you get or not an SP, a person like going through the simulation who they like don't like really invest in, like, is there like a plan for if a person really doesn't like invest themselves like in the simulation, like to still help them get a learning experience out of that? Or is it just kind of like they, I don't know. That was a weird phrase question, but you kind of see what I'm getting at.
If let me know if I don't answer your question, Peyton, but what I'm understanding is that there's going to be one participant doing the simulation, the high heat, because they're going to be the ones, there's gonna be the one participant going against the one SP. So that participant is hopefully of the group going to be someone who cares about that topic and is going to, like, not be super passive with it. I mean, we want them to, like, still take away the learning objectives, but in that sense, if someone's not engaging with the simulation, they may not be the one to do the high heat, and they may not be engaging in the simulation because they would rather watch and learn than be the center of attention, if that makes sense. So hopefully, even if they're not feeling engaged in being a part of the simulation, they're engaged in watching and learning from the simulation.
Okay, that makes sense. I just kind of, okay, thanks.
Lane brought up a good point. I mean, how he feels about that issue, or how an SP feels about the issue might play a role in how well they can portray it. So if there's a high heat issue that may allow a person to argue against their point more easily than this particular one, maybe consider it. You know what I mean? Because you'd want the SP to really be in full character. I don't know if there is. I'm sure there. I mean, you know, just play around with the topics. That makes sense.
Oh yeah, Adam, we're not committed to abortion. We just wanted a controversial topic, and because we've run this scenario a couple times now, we've always run it with abortion. I don't even remember why we decided on that as a topic, but hopefully it's going to more coincide with the issues that the video group picks out. But that was just a random topic that we thought of that was controversial enough to get someone mad about it.
And so then video group was, what was the experience like watching that then?
I loved it. I was about to like instinctually type in chat something. I was going to be like, well, actually, but I was like, oh, wait, no. I thought it was good. I thought it was pretty realistic. I know that the video committee or the simulation committee has like run this a bunch, but seeing it for the first time, I thought it was really cool.
We've actually ran it twice now, so it'll only get better.
Oh, I was hoping there'd be some more reactions too from other people, and some of you with your video cameras off. I don't know if you're there or not, so it's confusing, but yeah, I want to make sure we hear from people because I want the cohort to mingle on what, on what the whole project is. It's simulation and video.
Right. I also don't want to, like, if you thought there was aspects that you didn't really appreciate, like, I do want to hear those as well. You're never going to hurt my feelings by saying, like, hey, I think we could have done this part better, or I didn't appreciate a certain aspect of that. So, like, if you have, I mean, be kind, but if you have critiques, like, we're always open to that.
Exactly. If you want to say, Lane, you suck at arguing, feel free.
I do have one question, which is like, so I notice on like the document, it's like 5 to 10 minutes. How do you kind of, because you're kind of relying on the participant to end the conversation by walking away. So how do you like, are you gonna wait for around 5 minutes before the SP really starts to get like heated?
No, so there'll be a time limit for the participant to walk away. And
Yeah, so we haven't, I don't know if Lane, you're still talking, but you cut out. We haven't decided on an exact time, but let's say it's 5 minutes, right? This participant will know beforehand, like, okay, this should last around 5 minutes. And there won't be like, we kind of decided that like there won't be like a clock like or a timer up anywhere so that they're not focusing too much on that, but like they'll know it's about 5 minutes. So like when the SP will know the time probably. And so like once 5 minutes comes around, if the participant's so really heated and like is not walking away anytime soon, we think they would learn more from like ending the conversation and talking about, okay, like what did you do wrong? Not necessarily wrong, but like you didn't follow the learning objectives. Let's talk about that. Then like giving them a reminder mid conversation and forcing the learning objectives upon them. So yes, it'll be like, after a certain point in time, like the SP will stop time to like talk about if the participant doesn't walk away.
And that's the same for all of our heats. Even our medium heat, if some of you were watching, we did come to like a concise conclusion, and it was calm and like good on both sides. We came to like not a middle ground, but we came to a good conclusion. But we decided that if we hadn't been able to do that, because like Derek was acting a little bit more like aggressive on the issue, and I was being a little bit more passive on the issue. But we were able to like negotiate a fair stopping point. But if that hadn't happened, then one of our SPs would have stopped and said, hey, are we like accomplishing our learning objectives, and can we focus on accomplishing them?
Because like the participant knows the learning objectives before going through the simulation, except the low heat, because there's two parts to it and it's low heat. But so like they know the goal, but sometimes when you get in those conversations and like someone's being really like rude or disrespectful to your views, it's hard to like be able to diffuse the tension. So like Derek knew the motives, but he was like excited about the conversation. So it just kind of, it could go both ways.
There seems to be a point where it gets personal, doesn't it? Or someone's trying to hook you or make it personal.
There were points, especially in that one with Lane, and even in the one that we've done before in just our simulation group, where Lane will like, there was one point Lane said that I was a bad person for believing what I did. And that was so hard to walk away from, because like, I mean, obviously I know Lane doesn't think I'm a bad person, but in this, like, these are situations that really do, these are situations that really do happen in like real life, and especially that the SPs and the participants won't know each other. I think it provides like, it's so much, that's why we call it high heat, is because it's so much harder than your lower heat options. And that's where you're really practicing those learning objectives of being able to, at the end, I was able to realize that I was never going to change Lane's mind and that he was just going to continue to be aggressive and rude to me, so that I was no longer gaining anything from the conversation. And I just eventually had to walk away. That's our high heat, because we think that's probably one of the hardest scenarios you're going to be put in real life, but that is a real scenario that you will be put in real life. And so that's where our learning objectives come in.
And that's where it's really skill building too. I mean, it takes skill to not get hijacked emotionally when, you know, because of other people's behaviors. So I want to say this, and I don't know if you're building it into the lessons, and, you know, feel free not to, but for you all personally, one of the most useful conversational moves I've learned in my lifetime is accuracy. Is when someone uses a term like "you're a bad person." That's a very inaccurate term, right? Or if someone says you're being a jerk, you know, that's, I don't know what to do with that. You've now taken this title and imposed it upon me, and I don't know what it means, and it's not defined. So I would just have to say, well, can you explain what you mean that you thought I was being rude? Or can you explain what you mean that you thought I was a jerk? Or can you explain how you could go from something like this to casting such a broad and terrible thing as to call someone an overall bad person? What specifically do you mean? And and have them express it and be accurate. I don't know if that helps at all, but I really do think conversationally, it's a move you can make when you don't know what. Can you say more about that? You know what I mean? Can you explain what you mean by that? So that it doesn't become on you to defend being a bad person. How do you defend against that? I'm not a bad person. I do this and I do this and I do. No, that person, it's the accusation that needs to be explained, not you. It's just a thought, because you'll experience this in life. It's called gaslighting. And you want to be able to say, you can spark it up, but I'm going to put you out. I can't have that. I can't have the gaslighting going on. So let's, explain what you mean by that. You do the work, not me. I ain't doing the work. That's what a gaslighter does. They invent something that'll make you do the work. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And you need to spot it so you don't get sucked into it. Because once you get sucked into it, oh, you're in it full on. Like you think it's real and you think it's happening. I'll stop there, but I hope it's something you guys find useful. Accuracy moves. It's a small thing, but really powerful.
I agree, Adam. I think that is a really good point about like not getting sucked into it. And so I think that sometimes like we're on that high heat, especially like we're trying to test you. Are you going to get sucked into it? We want our SP or Lane in this scenario, like the fact that he told me I was a bad person, that really tested my like strength in being able to walk away. So I think that's kind of like the goal, is that we want to put you on that edge of like getting sucked in or being able to like stay level-headed. But in addition to that, I also had a question specifically for Kylie, if you're still on the call with us, because she had said something earlier when we did the medium heat that she was very interested that, awesome, Kylie's here. She had said, I described that I could feel a difference participating in the medium heat versus participating in the high heat. And she had said that she didn't entirely understand that because she hadn't seen the high heat yet. So I was wondering if she had opinions on how they differed, or if they like, I don't know. I kind of wanted to hear her reaction because she had specifically asked about it. But I also don't want to put you on the spot. Don't feel like you have to answer. But she did respond in the chat.
Mild?
Sorry, I can talk now. My dog was being really loud just like 10 seconds ago, so that's why I was typing. But yeah, just by watching, like hearing what Julian had like told us about from the past run-throughs with Lane, and kind of like the gaslighting that we were talking about just a few minutes ago, I felt like that was kind of the high heat like scenario I was expecting to see. But this like past run through, I don't know if it might just have been because you guys have done this before and like gone through it and Julian knew what to expect from Lane, but it seemed very like non-confrontational almost, even though obviously there was a confrontation and like Lane was being more aggressive like towards the conversation. It just felt like there could have been more, and it seemed like, and maybe that's just because like I've been in scenarios in the past where I have had to walk away from conversations that are more participants practice with a higher heat level than even that.
That's good feedback. Thank you, Carly.
If I could build on to what Kylie was saying, I agree there is definitely a difference between the mild and high heat situations. I think concerns over the high heat scenario being too mild, I think a lot of that is because we're doing this in over Zoom. It's hard to read people's faces. So if Lane were to say something pretty extremely rude but realistic in a conversation, it's hard to gauge his facial expressions and his body language, whether or not whether or not he's being sarcastic or stuff like that. My first impressions on the high heat scenario, I greatly enjoyed it. And the saddest part is because these are the conversations that I hear all the time when it comes to politics. Just watching this high heat scenario, it just reminds me again of this is why we're doing this project. Like mild and low heat scenarios, that's pretty much the goal. It's what we want. That's what you hear in your AP Gov classes or civic engagement. The ideal, what we're aiming for. But just watching the high heat scenario introduces all these new topics, like Adam was saying, with gaslighting and logical fallacies and the thin line between an intense debate and some kind of superiority complex or egotistical person who's trying to prove their superiority just through either morals or trying to debase the other person, and instead of arguing over policy or what's the best way to solve an issue. And I think that's a new pattern we've seen in American politics, especially in the last 4 years. I think a lot of it is due to the internet and which voices get amplified the loudest. So I think the importance of our project is shifting these discussions to in-person and doing away with trying to prove the other person as either a baby eating, child sacrificing Democrat or a fascist Nazi Republican.
I agree. I think that feedback is super helpful, Graham. And yeah, I think that's like the high heat is not the ideal scenario that we want you to be in, that we want our people to be in like the real life, but yet they are very real conversations. The conversation that I just had with Lane, I've definitely had with other people who did think I was a bad person genuinely, and we're not just acting out that as a role. So I agree. Like, I think the high heat, like the lower heats are for more like skill building and to really practice these skills to have them, but then the high heat is really your like final exam, in the sense of like you have to put all that to the test, and in the face of being called a bad person or in the face of someone not using facts or things like that, can you use these skills that we've taught you?
I wanted to ask with the medium heat scenario, is it like a participant and an SP having the discussion, or is it like two SPs arguing with each other and then a participant has to come in and like diffuse the tension?
Okay, so some of the video group watched our medium heat, but what we did was it was Derek and I as participants and Miller and Lane as SPs, and we picked a SCOTUS case that was on, it was in Oregon, a religious group was using LSDs for a religious experience, and Oregon wanted to like shut that down because LSDs are against the law, but they claimed that it was their First Amendment right, like freedom of religion, to use LSDs in a religious practice. So what we did was Lane explained the situation to us, and then Derek and I made an opinion. We could have differed, but in this scenario, we happened to just agree just randomly. But then we talked it out with the Lane and Miller, and because me and Derek both agreed, then Lane and Miller both opposed us. And at the end, it was a lot calmer of an ending. When you were watching the high heat, I like just had to walk away from the conversation, but in the medium heat, we kind of came to like a middle ground-ish area. We were able to like discuss and say, you know, I think these are great opinions that we have. It'll be up to the Supreme Court, and I guess we can move on from there. So it just kind of differed in that sense, but it's also just a different style. So the high heat is a theatrical style, one participant, one SP, and a room full of people watching you, like your other simulation group watching you. Whereas the medium heat is more, there's other participants because we want you to be able to bounce ideas off of each other. And we don't want you to feel like everybody is watching you. It's just supposed to progressively get harder. So that's why the medium heat has more participants.
Does anyone have any lingering questions? Oh, Victor said something in the chat. I see. I was just thinking how it could be valuable to have a situation where two SPs are arguing very aggressively and a participant has to calm both down. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. I'll put that on the Miro and we can make a scenario for that in the future.
There are a couple different scenarios, and we just rank them into what heat they fall into. The high heat one that me and Lane have run a couple times now is called Monty Python. But there are a couple other high heat scenarios. There are a couple other medium heat scenarios and a couple other low heat scenarios. But yes, that was like a great idea. And we could like rank that based on what heat it is. We could even run it to decide what heat it goes into. But yeah, so it's not just that, it won't be that same scenario running over and over again for the high heat.
You guys, I don't know. Just the feedback. I really love the heat language in this. I mean, when we set out in this project, I don't think we intended it, but I'm wondering if that's a good branding angle too. Something around the heat and bringing down the heat. I don't know. It's just a thought I had, and I don't know how deep you are into your branding yet, or if this, I just think it's kind of a cool idea. It says what you're about, even if it's a tagline or something in your website. It doesn't have to be your name or anything, but about bringing down the heat and all of that.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool to have that in there. And then when people experience it, they can be like, oh, like, okay, it makes sense now.
Yeah, even now, like if I was in a conversation with someone who was politically explosive, I'd be like, hey, you know what? Can we just bring down the heat a little bit? Like I'm as emotional as you are, but honestly, I don't want to spend the energy on it, because what are we going to do with that? What's this argument going to lead to that would make it worth your energy and mine? So can we just bring down the heat a little bit, and I'll be glad to hear you out. You know what I mean? Like, why couldn't it be like that?
Okay. Does anyone have any more questions? If not, I think it'd be a good time to transition into plus deltas, and then we can wrap up the meeting. So yeah, who wants to begin?
I'll go. But a plus for me was definitely having the video committee watch our simulation, specifically like at the beginning when we were in our little committee time and we ran the medium heat scenario. But I thought that was so extremely helpful. Graham had quite a few points that were really good feedback for us. But also like just the fact that they enjoyed watching it and they like enjoyed where the simulation was going, even though it's pretty bare bones at this point. They really enjoyed it, and so it was just like very encouraging for me that like we're on the right track.
Kind of going off what Julian said, I think because like with the focus on the agenda of bringing both committees together, I think letting us watch, like as someone from the video committee, like letting us watch a real demonstration of the high heat scenario and the medium heat scenario that I wasn't there for, but just like did a very good job of accomplishing its focus.
just overall, I enjoy the shift in focus that both committees are focusing on. For far too long, it seemed that we were splitting into breakout rooms, working on our own, and then kind of getting out of sync with the other committee. But I feel like today was a great catch up. And also we got to see the simulations in action for the first time. Very impressed. And now we have a better idea of how we can fine tune our videos.
My plus would definitely be I enjoyed getting to work through the scenarios, the ellipse part.
You cut out.
How about okay? But anyways, I really enjoyed getting to work through the scenarios and like getting myself better accustomed to what they might look like. I'm really interested in the idea of a socially distanced in-person scenario run through with the simulation committee, because I feel like if we recorded that'd just be like off the charts. That'd be awesome.
Also, a plus for the whole simulation committee would be that it was our goal to run medium heat today. And not only did we accomplish that, we also got to show medium heat to the video committee. So we kind of accomplished two goals in one. And that's a big plus for our committee. We can take that off of the
Awesome. I'm gonna ask around, is there anyone else who has some plus deltas? But if not, then good work today. You guys all worked really hard, and we were basically working the entire time, besides when we had like a 10-minute break. So proud of you guys.
I think we did record some of the first scenario run throughs.
Yeah, I mean, it's like as like a product, you know, that you would record and have on the website. Like, here's examples of low, medium, high heat simulations. Here's how they've played out. Because I think it'd be kind of cool to, I think I can learn a lot by watching them too. I don't know. I think being in a simulation is definitely a really powerful learning experience, but I can't always be in a simulation. So could I show videos and, you know, maybe ask my students, if I were leading a class, how would you react in this scenario? Do you think, you know, the person handled it well? How would you handle it differently? There might be value in that. I'm just saying, and it would definitely benefit from the skills of the video committee. It's just an idea, and I know we're wrapping up, and I know it's Friday. So, you know, and it's sunny out. It's beautiful. So enjoy.
Adam, I was just gonna say real quick, that actually like part of our theatrical style is that one person participates and the others watch. So even if you don't feel, even if it is in person, or virtually, the others can watch, are supposed to be watching and like in their mind critiquing it. We could also film that and put that on like a different kind of platform, but that's the whole main goal of theatrical anyways, is that there can only be one participant, but everybody else should be learning equally as much.
All right, good work today.
I don't have anything to say, Derek. So, you know, good job.
Thanks.
You feel good?
Yeah, I was like laggy, but I hope the recording turned out okay.
Sure will.
Yep.